Alright, yo, what's up guys? And today I was thinking about doing like a quick little tutorial. I haven't really done anything like this before, but I thought, you know, I do a little tutorial for, I'll start doing like some tutorials every now and then for specific levels that I think don't have like the best information available online to like learn it properly. There's always videos, but you know, people don't really tell you about visual cues and stuff like that too often. And so I'm gonna tell you how I do Sirena 4 fast strat. And there's probably a way to do this even faster than I do. I probably don't do like the super optimal, like the most optimal of strats, but this is pretty fast the way I do it. I do both of the momentum spins. I don't even know if the first momentum spin saves any time, but it doesn't lose any time at least. So let's get right into it. Now I'm gonna explain a few things. Now, the first part here, this is what we'll do first. So, what you want to do here in order to get to the first cube, like this is something that I think most runners should do, no matter your level. Well, not no matter your level, but you know, once you start getting into the game a little bit, start creeping up on that sub 130, you should definitely learn this strat if you haven't already. So, in the beginning you want to spin jump dive onto this little cube, and so I'm gonna do that once, and I'll tell you guys about it. So let me just do it. Alright, so that's what you do. And the inputs you do basically is a dive, an immediate dive into a short rollout. I'll explain a little bit more about that soon. Then you walk up to the cube and you kind of like, well, you will be right in front of the cube after you roll out, and then you go a little bit to the left and angle yourself to the right, so you push left on your control stick. Angle your Mario's angle to the right, and then you dive roll out again into a spin jump dive onto the cube. And that's how you like skip one cycle of the cube, and this saves a lot of time, so I definitely recommend everyone to do this. It's not too difficult, it's actually not hard if you like practice it. I'm pretty sure everyone can learn this. You just gotta put in time, and it's pretty satisfying, and you know, it saves a lot of time. So one more time. So short roll out, dive roll out, jump, spin up, dive, like that. So now, what is a short rollout? Some might wonder. Short rollout is when you roll out quickly out of a dive. So like, and the reason you need a short rollout is because otherwise you will bonk into the cube. And it's also important that you skip this cutscene that starts at the beginning. So you gotta like mash A in the beginning to make sure you skip that cutscene. So that's like the first part of the movement. If you have any questions, you can always like ask me personally, and I'll try to explain it a little more in depth. But yeah, you need to make sure you get that short rollout in the beginning. It's pretty important. Otherwise, you're gonna bonk in the cube. And you know, then you just go to the left of the cube, so you kind of like avoid the cube. And then you know, angle Mario to the right by pressing left on the control stick, on the C stick. And then you dive roll out again, and at the edge, or like at the edge of the like first platform that you spawn on, you do a spin jump dive onto the cube, with, you know, the angle being adjusted to the right, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to land on the cube. And this is not actually too precise, like, you don't have to be super fast in order to get it. You actually have quite a bit of leeway, so don't worry too much if you feel like you're going a little bit too slow. You could probably still make it if you get like the inputs correctly. Alright, so the second part is actually less complicated. Like, I'll show you. So we do the level again, you know, just spin and dive across. There I was actually a bit slow, but I still made it. So you, right here. That's not what you're supposed to do, by the way. You're not supposed to grab that ledge. But you do 2 dives, so as soon as you land on the cube, I'll show it again. So dive, roll out, dive, roll out, dive, roll out, dive, roll out. And that's how you get to this cube effectively. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no faster way. There might be a faster way, not that I know of anyway. This is how I do it anyway, and like most people do it. So you know, doing these inputs in a row in the order that I just did, you know, this is nothing in particular that you're doing special. It's not too difficult. You just need to like, you know, let muscle memory take over eventually, and you know, etch it into your memory. So once you got this down, I mean, this will not take a a long time to learn at all. This is just something that, you know, you need to know what you're supposed to do, and then, you know, practice it a little bit maybe, and then you'll get it down. No worries. So what I do after that is I do a momentum spin on this cube. This is not something I would recommend, but if you want to do it, then go for it. I just do it because it's fun. So I just like do this, and yeah, like that. Then you just jump, dive, roll out, jump, dive. Here you just want to do regular dive rollouts, and this is the harder part, in my opinion. People struggle with different things, but this is what I think is the hardest, which is the momentum spin on the cube. And now, a lot of people want to do the momentum spin on the cube with the opposite angle. Not the angle, the opposite direction of what you usually do a spin jump in. So for an example, if you do a spin jump, if you do spin jumps usually doing counterclockwise on your control stick, like let's say you're doing spin jumps, you know, counterclockwise usually, then some people think that it's easier to do a momentum spin on this cube doing it the reverse direction, so doing it clockwise instead. Personally, I don't think really it's easier, because I feel like I have much more control when I do a spin jump in the like direction I'm used to. So I actually do it the same direction. So this tutorial will mainly just cover the same direction, but it's essentially the same. If you want to do it try it out the reverse direction, you can do that too. But what's important about a momentum spin is that when you do a momentum spin, you can't move too fast, because then you'll get a regular spin jump. And also, if you do it too slow, you're not going to get a spin jump at all. So you need to like find a kind of good speed to do the spin jump. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna show you ones now. So that's the momentum spin. And, you know, that doesn't explain a lot, you know. I just did some movement and I got to the platform. And, you know, usually you want to wait a little bit on the cube and then do the momentum spin, the spin jump dive onto the last platform instead. But doing this will save you like 4 seconds, I think. And 4 seconds is a decent amount of time. To be fair, this trick is a little bit difficult and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. But if you want to learn it, then go ahead. It's not impossible. Everyone can do it. You just gotta, you know, practice. So let's do it one more time. I'll try and explain a little bit more in depth, because that's like the hardest part. So, you know, just do this. And then I do my momentum spin on this cube. I'm not really gonna explain that, because it doesn't really save time. It's just something I do for fun. So they actually messed it up. But yeah, so actually I'm gonna save state on the cube and I'll explain a little bit more in depth about the way I do it. Because there are a few things that I use as visual cues that make the trick a little bit easier for me anyway. Alright. So, first thing you want to do, in order to get momentum, this is something that is required to get a momentum spin. You need to have Mario be in a momentum mode, or like have extra momentum. And to get extra momentum, you need to dive roll out on a slope. That way Mario will walk extra fast. You might have noticed people using this on, for an example, sometimes people, when they do Pianta 2, the Piantissimo race, on the last tree, you dive roll out and then you walk faster. It's the same here. Like, you get extra momentum by diving and rolling out on something that has like a ramp or, you know, a slope, something that's tilting in some way. So you do that first in order to get Mario in momentum mode. And once you have Mario in momentum mode, you want to do a slightly slower spin jump input. Only the input for the spin on the control stick, on the edge of the cube where it's green. So as soon as I dive roll out here, I'm gonna walk up to the little green spot at the edge of the cube. Like, that's where you want to do the momentum spin. And there are a few things that are specific about this little green spot. I'm gonna try and explain that in a second. But yeah, so you dive roll out, get Mario into momentum mode. You walk up the cube, go up to the little green spot, and there you want to do a spin jump input without actually pressing A. You're gonna press A, don't worry. You're gonna do it afterwards, but you don't want to press A immediately, because then, you know, you'll just do a regular spin jump. So you dive roll out, walk up to the little green spot, and you're gonna do a spin jump. I do it the same way I do regular spin jumps, so, you know, I'll do the spin jump input with my control stick. So I'll do, you know, the spin on my control stick, like this. And I go a little bit slower. You want to go a little bit slower than you might sometimes do with spin jumps. So I just, you know, do it like this speed. And not like, whereas I might go a little bit faster if I usually do spin jumps. This is not the case for buffered spin jumps or like some other momentum spins, but when you want to do this momentum spin, you have to go a little bit slower in the control stick. So I'm gonna be basically when I walk up to the little green spot, a visual cue I use there is I use the right. I want to be quite a bit on the right side of the green spot, because if I go a little bit too much like to the middle of the green spot, and when I do my like spin jump input or like my spin on the edge, then I find it a lot harder to get it. And it's just something that I think, you know, makes it easier if you go a little bit more to the right, because then you have a bit more leeway to do, you know, your spin jump input on your controller. So I will walk up, I'll do my spin input on the controller, and directly after you've done your spin input, you're gonna hold forwards and press A. Like press, you know, A pretty solidly just once. As soon as you've finished your spin input, and you have to make sure that you're holding forwards all the time after you've done your spin. So, yeah. So the reason I screwed it up there was I went a little bit too fast on my control stick, so let's do it a few more times. But yeah, so that's what you want to do, and I stand, like I said, a little bit, like, you know, I stand a decent amount to the right of the green little spot. Like, I can show you. Like, if you see right here, hang on, let me see. Okay, there we go. I want the green to be a little bit more visible. So, at the little green part of the cube, you want to go, like, kind of far right to the, like, of the green part. You know, obviously not in this position. At this position, you're, like, a little bit too late. But yeah, I go pretty far to the right so I can like do my spin jump more safely, or like the spin input, if that makes any sense. So let's give it another go. So yeah, just like that. And the reason I do it clockwise is, like I said, because, or like the counterclockwise, like I usually do spin jumps. Like I do spin jumps counterclockwise. And the reason for that I do counterclockwise here too is because I have more control doing a spin jump counterclockwise, whereas if I do the reverse angle, it's like hard for me to, you know, always get like a good angle, etc. I don't really have as much control doing it with doing it clockwise. So personally, I would recommend doing it with whatever direction you're comfortable doing spin jumps with. But it's personal preference. You can give it a go and do it the other way if you think it's hard. That can also happen if you're like a little bit too far from the ledge, or if you're doing your spin jump a little bit too fast, then that happens. And there I got it too slow, so that's what it looks like when you get it too slow. So that's also something you have to look out for. You can't go too slow or too fast. Supposed to do. Okay, so like that. Let's do it a few more times to give you guys some visual information. So yeah, dive roll out like that. Though that was a bit too early actually. You have to make sure you don't do it too early too. But yeah, I just really think it's easier if you're a little bit further on the right. Like if you're doing it like the input a little bit too far to the left, I feel like it's harder. It's still possible, but I definitely feel like it's harder that way. So I like to go a little bit more to the right, like that. Do one more time. So yeah, like that. So I hope this small little tutorial helped some of you. I know it's not the best tutorial out there, or like the best kind of tutorial ever, but it should help some of you guys a little bit more with learning this. Because I know there's not really level specific tutorials for specific strats out there too much. Anyway, so I'm gonna do a few of some specific levels if you guys like them and stuff. And I hope this helps at least some of you.